You're listening to the Favorite Marriage Podcast, a place where you and your spouse can experience God's favor on your forever. Join us as we explore relevant topics and provide practical tools for your marriage toolbox. Enjoy this week's episode of The Favorite Marriage. Hey friends, welcome back to the Favorite Marriage Podcast. This is your go-to podcast for couples who want to take their marriage to the next level. Yep, and we're excited that you're tuning in to another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how a couple can develop an Olympic level marriage. We are right now finishing up the Olympic ceremonies, and today's the last day.
Right.
And we felt it would be appropriate for us to talk a little bit about how to have an Olympic marriage.
Yeah, for sure. We've been glued to the TV watching the games and all the different sports. And so we've learned a lot about resilience and just the tenacity that some of these athletes have. And we thought, how appropriate to compare that to a marriage and having an Olympic marriage.
Yeah, we've been watching some of these married couples in the Olympics, and we have been kind of amazed at the track runner, Sydney McLaughlin. She's the track star, and her husband, Andre Lavroni. And Sydney, she won the 200 hurdles. And we just love their story because they're both Christians.
Yeah.
Her husband's a pastor, and she's just a phenomenal athlete in itself. So we've been really glued to
so many
her story. And then the other couples who have just kind of had to overcome some challenges and stories of resilience. Man, it's pretty neat to kind of hear the backstory.
Yeah, there's so many. And I think that's been even more engaging. Like knowing that these athletes, are running the races of their life, swimming the laps of their life. Oh, I guess that would be a race as well.
Yeah.
The laps create the race. Yeah. So, and then jumping and twirling and all of the things, all of those things are amazing, but they're stories, the story behind the stories. And that is what has really been engaging us.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to take that same idea and we're going to apply it to marriage. Okay. So, Jeannine, you think about the Olympics and marriage. Marriage is kind of like an Olympic sport. There's a lot of similarities that these athletes have to endure and go through in order to get to that high level. And same with marriages. Married couples, in order to have your Olympic marriage, there are many different things that you're going to have to endure and encounter and have tenacity, resilience. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between both athletes and a married couple. So how can a married couple have an Olympic level type of marriage? We're going to talk about a few of those things on today's podcast. The first and foremost thing that we've been talking about and seeing a lot and hearing a lot is how every athlete, just like every marriage, there has to be a lot of practice put in order to have an Olympic marriage, right?
Yeah,
Lots
for sure.
of practice.
I mean, some of these athletes have been training since they were kids. Most of them have been training since they were kids. They're talking about when I was 6 years old and I put a racket in my hands, or when I was in grade school and I started swim lessons. It's been just drilled in them, and they've had this passion since they were young, and they've been applying all of these drills, and it's become a second nature to them. Some of them that's just their whole their life, their livelihood. It's just they've put everything else aside and said, this is my goal and this is what I'm going for, and that's all they do.
Yeah. You mentioned drills. Like these athletes, they have repetitive drills over and over and over. I mean, literally thousands and hours of practice to hone their craft, right? And you think about marriage, we also have drills in a married couple, right? There are marriage drills that we have to hone and work at and put in the hard work, as we say, in order for our marriage to become that Olympic level, Olympic type of marriage. And so what are some marriage drills that couples have to go through, right?
Like communication drills and serving drills, serving one another, like all the things of marriage. Like everything about marriage is something you should practice. And it's just like the athletes, you know, if you want to be good at something, if you want to improve at something, then you establish a routine. And if you are in your marriage and you're wanting improvement in your marriage, then you need to make the necessary steps, added the necessary drills into your routine in order to get better at that one thing. So for example, communication, when you know that you have a problem with communication in your marriage, which a lot of marriages do. I mean, that's one of the number one things that couples say they have an issue with, or they have problems with in marriage. When we sit across the table from them, they're like, we just don't know how to communicate. We have a hard time communicating. We don't know how to communicate. Well, then that is probably something you need to develop a routine, add some drills, some communication drills into your marriage, and get better at it. And the only way you're going to get better at it is if you practice it. You deliberately apply those drills to your life. It's not going to get better. You're not gonna get to the next level if you just ignore it.
Yeah, that's a good marriage drill, is the communication piece, and you have to practice it. You're like, they say you're going to play like you practice.
Exactly.
And if a couple puts in the practice of how to have a healthy communication lifestyle, that will show up in more ways than one. Yeah. More ways than others. And so having that marriage communication drill. What about, like, I'm thinking of other routine patterns that couples can anticipate or couples can interject in their marriage or implement, should I say?
Like dating, you mean? Like
dating drills.
Like that? Yeah.
Yeah. And what would be some other routine practices, drills that couples can really implement in their marriage to become better?
I mean, if you want to even talk about like applying the drill of, I don't know.
Well, what about the drill of, like,
I was going to say something, but then I was like, I don't know if that would be considered a drill.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Well, like intimacy.
Yes.
Is that a drill? Or is that an event? I'm just kidding. I mean, it's drills both. Lead to the event.
Pray.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
Anyway, that's one.
Yeah.
Next.
Intimacy drill is, and it's just not sexual, but there's emotional intimacy, there's spiritual intimacy drills. And so intimacy is not relegated only to the sexual aspect.
I didn't even mean sexual. Is that what you thought?
Yeah, of course. Oh, I'm a guy. Yeah.
But I'm just talking like buying your wife flowers.
Yeah, that could be a love language, right? Again, there it is. That's the love language.
Practicing
your love language drills. Yeah. You think about practicing the quality time together. I mean, the list can go on, but the point is a married couple, to have an Olympic level marriage, you have to put in the work, you got to put in the practice, and you got to be consistent at the marriage drills in order to have that strong, vibrant, healthy marriage relationship.
Yeah. And you always have to start somewhere. I mean, if you're out there and you're listening to this or watching this and you're feeling like, whew, our marriage is really out of shape. We commend those marriages who take that initial hard step to walk into the office or our living room to say, hey, we need help. We need a coach. You need to come alongside us. And that's why we say we're marriage coaches, because, we are just there cheering them on to do the drills that they need to do. Like, sure. We can't do them for you. Like, no coaches on the sidelines have done the work that the athletes are doing on the field and in the gym and on the pool and on the court. You can't expect someone else to do the work for you and you get the gold medal.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think the coaches get gold medals too, right? But I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they're not the ones that are competing.
All the coaches really do, speaking of like marriage coaches or actual athletic coaches, they just give the athletes the tools that they need to perform the task.
And it's just saying, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And so even in marriage coaching, all we do is just give tools to married couples, but you guys are the ones that have to go and do the hard work and practice and do the marriage drills.
Yeah, but like I was saying, like those people who finally say, we need a coach. We need to come together and apply or create a different routine, create a different lifestyle in our marriage in order to improve it. And so we say yes when they walk in and they're like, we're ready. And we're right there by their side, cheering them on.
Yeah. Which leads to our second thought is like couples have to learn, just like athletes, how to overcome the challenges. So when a couple does come to that realization, hey, we need some help here because we have a challenge, and we coach them up on how to work together on overcoming those challenges. And that's kind of like a main point like today is these athletes, they have to overcome a lot of challenges because prior to the Olympics, they have a lot of setbacks. And we've been hearing a lot of these stories, like what were the two gymnasts that we were.
Well, the ones that I think were more in the social media limelight, like they got more attention were like Simone Biles.
Oh yeah, because of her mental health, right?
Yeah, and Suni Lee. Well, it was like a physical issue that turned to mental. So I mean, like these athletes, the mental health of them, like it's so important. And so, I mean, I think we're going to get a little bit more into that, but like having a strong spouse who comes alongside you and supports you in those moments too of not just physical health, but mental health. But I think even the physical part, like some of these athletes, like what they've gone through prior to the Olympics, the injuries, the surgeries, like you said, the setbacks, all these things that they did not allow to stop them. They hit some challenges, and they said, no, I have a dream. I have these goals that I want to reach, and they pushed past them.
Yeah.
And some of them are huge.
Big time.
Yeah.
And you think about that in marriage, what couple hasn't faced tough challenges?
I mean, every marriage.
Yeah. What couple hasn't faced setbacks? And the difference between couples that have the Olympic marriage is the couples that have learned to work together, they become a united front in their marriage relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
And together they learn how to work through the challenges, They know how to work and overcome the hurdles that they're facing, right?
Yeah.
And, did kind of like a little track analogy there,
No, it's perfect.
But couples, we have hurdles that we have to overcome. And we've always said in this podcast and in other episodes we talked about, is like we have to see each other as friends and not enemies. And so when a married couple does learn how to become one flesh, as we say it, two-nighted, like instead of united, two-nighted.
Yeah.
They lock arms, they lock their shield of faith, and together they work on those challenges. They work on overcoming those setbacks. And that's what we admire, Jeannine, when couples come in for coaching and they come in for some training in their marriage relationship. We love it when they both come in together, where they both are in agreement and saying, hey, we're here together because we have a challenge, we have a setback, and we are willing to work at it together. And that's when they reach that Olympic level type of marriage.
Right. It's that not giving up attitude, right? Just saying, I'm not going to give up. And we've seen that so much in these athletes. And, where most people would have said, these Achilles is shot, or they tore it, and the knees and the surgeries on the young lady, the track runner who had just had surgery 6 months prior to coming to the Olympics.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
How many people would have been like, oh, not this year, but they're just pushing past these things. And we love that when marriages say, we are not giving up, and they're not throwing in the towel, and they're saying, I have these injuries, I have these setbacks, I have these things that have hurt us, but I'm not gonna say I'm done.
Yeah.
And when a couple does that, when a husband or a wife does that, there's such a powerful synergy that happens when they work on it together. And one says yes, and that's what the other couple was just waiting for them to say yes, because we know so many couples that one spouse is just like, I want to work on my marriage, but I hurt them so bad, and I don't think they're going to agree to work on the marriage. And then when they say yes, when they give them their yes, the synergy that happens in the healing process.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool about the Olympic athletes is when they say yes and they decide in their mind that we're going to push past this pain, we're going to push past the injury, they have a whole team of people ready to come alongside them and this push them to this this expedited healing.
Sure.
Because otherwise, I mean, some of these people, they would have not been competing this year.
Sure. Yeah. I can't help but keeping in my mind this imagery of like when a runner or an athlete falls, and then you have another athlete that comes alongside and picks them up. I just can't help but thinking about that imagery. That's marriage. That's coming alongside one another, and not just them, but like you mentioned, the team of people who say, we're here with you. If you're willing to get back up and cross the finish line and run to finish, we're going to be here with you.
Yeah.
And that's important when it comes to overcoming those challenges.
When you think about an injury or something that you're going to be dealing with through life, you have a choice to either continue working through that with your spouse, pushing past the challenges, the setbacks, and then receiving that gold medal at the end, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't quit. So why not say yes to the person that you committed and you made that covenant before God and witnesses and say, this is it. I mean, you don't see these athletes like saying, oh, like Simone Biles, I'm done and I'm gonna go try tennis.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, no, I'm gonna commit to what I started. I'm injured. I have to work through these things.
Yeah.
And you see the joy in it after.
Yeah.
And so many people rallied behind. It's like so many people were rallying around her, but they celebrated with her and people were just like, yay, and it was like a whole celebration of just humanity.
Yeah.
Like her triumph and what she did, many people celebrated it.
Yeah.
So you're not doing it just for you. When you push past the pain and the injury or whatever you're going through in your marriage, when you win, there are so many other people in the stands winning with you. You
know what they're celebrating in that moment?
What are they celebrating?
They're celebrating the athlete's resilience.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And hope.
And hope.
They get hope.
Yeah. And man, that'll preach for marriages too, right? When we see couples make it, when we see couples cross that finish line and couples are saying, yeah, we feel like we're out of the woods with this challenge and we're like, yay, God, you know what I mean? We celebrate their hope, their resilience. And of course, the goal, of every Olympic marriage is celebrating those victory moments,
For sure.
Just like every athlete. The highlight of every athlete and every night we've been watching is us celebrating their victory, us celebrating their gold, silver, or bronze medal. And which is kind of our final point is couples need to learn how to celebrate victories with one another, whether the wins are very small or the wins are really, really big. The goal of a married couple is we're going for the goal together, to have a golden marriage. Yeah.
Isn't it somewhere in Job, right, where he talks about through those challenges, he's going to come out as gold.
Yeah, it's Job 23:10, where he is going through all of his challenges, and then he says something. He says, "Lord, you know the way that I've taken, but when I come out of this, I will come forth as gold." And it's that golden moment, that gold that is refined by fire and trials and tribulations, that really makes that gold more pure and just clean gold,
Clean gold, purified by the fire.
Yeah. What about like the gold medals that the athletes get, right? So they win the event, they have the ceremony, and the camera pans to them and it shows them with the gold medal around their chest, and the national anthem is being sung, and they get the close up on the athlete and their face, and some of them are crying, some of them are just overwhelmed, just in awe, right? And that's what they work for. All the hours, all the pain, all the overcoming of the setbacks was for that one moment, so they can celebrate the victory of winning the gold. And that's just like marriage. One day we're going to have a very powerful gold medal moment in heaven when a husband and wife can say, yes, we kept the faith, we endured, we endured the fiery trials together, we've held on to our faith in the Lord. And what a beautiful day when we get to stand before God in heaven and walk, like we're going to be walking on streets of gold.
Yeah, forget the gold medal.
Yeah.
We'll be walking on streets of gold.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the camera panning on the athletes, I was thinking I loved watching when the camera panned onto the families and the crying and the excitement. And I'm thinking of the couple where he just grabs her and he's just like, "You're an Olympian champion," and I
love that
it's
moment.
just like he was just crying, and you did it. Just the excitement of the family, and like I said before, you're not alone. You have people surrounding you and cheering you on, and we're celebrating with you your wins, and we'll cry with you in those moments of hardship, and when it's just hurting so bad to push through the pain. Like we're here with you. We want to celebrate with you. But even better, the Lord is. Our God loves us so much, and He's cheering us on. Like He's saying, what I've created for you, marriage, this beautiful union that I have provided for you, starting in the Garden of Eden. Like I had this idea of what marriage should look like. And when he sees that image coming forth as gold, right?
Yeah.
And just when he sees a couple saying yes to him and pursuing him and reaching that point where they're saying yes to his plan, he's celebrating with you. He's got your back. He's there in the stands. And I'm sure I don't know if God cries, but I would think, he has a lot of proud moments when his kids are doing what he desires for them.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he smiles when he sees his kids doing good. Jeannine, as we kind of wrap up in this whole idea of celebrating victories in a married couple's life, we talk about these moments in their marriage where they can celebrate the victories with one another. And I know we did a whole episode on celebrating milestones in the marriage relationship, but what are some areas that a couple can really rally behind each other when it comes to like, hey, let's celebrate this together as a married couple? Like, what would some of those platforms be for that would cause celebration for a married couple?
Well, I think anything from your promotions at a job to physical healings, in your body, or even like if a husband or wife has like a physical goal, like weight loss or putting on some muscle mass, whatever those things is when a husband or a wife gets behind that spouse, working on that and cheers them on, it does something to a marriage. Cheering them on and being uplifting in their goal, whatever they're putting their mind to, So it could be something like that. Or it could be like even a challenge, like this summer, the things that I was dealing with the mental health, and you came behind me. And when I had victory, you came right next to me sometimes and cried with me and fought with me. But I know I did a lot of the work on my own, but I didn't feel like I was alone, because you were always there encouraging me and uplifting me and helping me and giving me ideas, and just sending me things during the day, by a text or whatever it was. But yeah, it did so much.
Yeah.
And so those are wins. Those are celebrations.
Celebrating those victories. Yeah, I do remember even when I would come home and you would share about a victory that you had, maybe something in prayer or something from a book you read or a scripture verse, and we would celebrate that together in thanking God. And so, yeah, those little tiny wins, the really big wins are important. Obviously, the big celebration you don't ever want to forget to celebrate is your wedding anniversary. I mean, that's a cause for great celebration. Matter of fact, we're going to be celebrating 29 years September 1st, and so another cause for celebrating those victories in your marriage, those milestones.
Yeah. Here's what I think is important, Monty, as we begin to wind down and wrap things up. Don't be afraid to celebrate. Don't be afraid to shout from the mountaintop of the things that God is doing in your life, because someone needs to hear your victory.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm not going to, share all my life with other people. And I'm saying like go and put everything on social media and
be careful.
To put your dirty laundry out there. I'm not saying to do that, but like with our situation, like it was pretty important for me to share the victory of the struggle from the mental health this summer with my family, with our family.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was important because we want to give hope. When you have a celebration within your marriage, like we heard some testimonies today of couples they're like, when we first came to, to the marriage class at our church, and we were like this, and now we're like this. And it's like, shout it from the rooftops, let people know, like, this is what God has done in our lives, because he is worthy of the praise. He's worthy of the honor and the glory. Shout your glory story, right?
Yeah.
Let the glory story be heard, because someone needs to hear that. They need hope, and they need to be able to grab onto something. And I think that's what the Olympics do for people.
Yeah.
Now, especially the Paralympics. Oh boy, I am so excited.
It's going to be awesome.
Talk about challenges and setbacks. This is going to be something to watch.
Yeah.
And be so encouraged and uplifted.
Yeah, we're already just kind of ready for that, because man, some of the commercials that have been coming up for that, we're all about that, because even couples face some pretty debilitating challenges in their marriage, and they can still overcome those challenges. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think we gave them some pretty good ideas on how to have an Olympic type of marriage.
Go for the gold, baby.
Yeah, go for the gold. Yeah, well, hey, thanks for tuning in with us for this episode. We felt we just really wanted to highlight this piece of life when it comes to the Olympics. And as we sign off, we want to remind you to do a couple of things. Number one, if you haven't liked, followed, or even wrote a review on one of our podcast platforms, man, we would appreciate that so much. We'd love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And what happens is that you don't miss any episodes that we produce. So you'll get that notification saying that The Favorite Marriage has produced another podcast, another episode. And so you can tune in and lock into the next episode that we produce on our YouTube channel. And so, stay tuned, because this next podcast or this next episode, we're going to be having a very special guest on this next episode that you don't want to miss. It's an amazing story that you're going to be hearing from some other podcasters in the industry. They have an amazing story of healing, redemption. You talk about overcoming challenges. This is a story you're not going to want to miss on our next episode.
Yes.
So,
yes, it's going to be a good one.
yeah. And as always, we pray that you would experience
God's favor
on your forever. Thanks for listening to The Favorite Marriage, where you and your spouse can experience God's favor on your forever. If you enjoy this resource, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time on the Favorite Marriage Podcast.